Hello everyone, today I'm going to be taking a look at the organised play kit for Star Trek Away Missions by Gale Force9 as the Q Continuum comes to visit. Okay, so this is the organised play kit for Star Trek Away Missions, and it is the Q organised play kit. Presumably in future years there will be different play kits with different characters introduced. This contains everything you need for an organised event: 10 Qs, 10 sets of Q cards, which is the character dashboard, 150 game cards, 62 tokens. You don't need all of those. I'll explain as we go. Throw on to the back. It explains that Q is an enigmatic entity wandering around from the Q Continuum, annoying people, which is fair enough. Obviously you need a copy of Away Missions to use Q with your friends, but let's dive in and see what's in the box. So, tray with 8 Q, tray with 2 Q plus cards, which are bundled. We'll get to those in a second. We have the organised play kit, a rule pamphlet, a set of tokens, red and blue musket toting Culans on one side, and on the reverse dog and android tokens, a set of Qs, some bonus point tokens, 5, 10 and 20s, and then your 10 player dashboards. So let's get into this and take a bit of a closer look at what you get. Okay, so we'll start off and have a quick look at the Q figure. So there are 10 of these in the box, dressed in all his finery from his initial encounter with the Next Generation crew as he decides to judge humanity based on Picard. Allows you to paint him up in all his robed finery. There's his name on the back, Q. Or you can just leave him as is. It's pre-constructed plastic, and it has that sort of caricatured look that the Away Missions game uses. He is around 40 mil to eye level and almost 50 to the top of his delightful crown. Okay, so the organised play kit. It contains enough for 10 people to attend your tournament or league, and at the end of it they'll all receive a Q as a prize. The little pamphlet explains how you play. Essentially there are 3 away missions where Q is messing with people, and then a 4th away mission where he will join both sides because he is irritating like that. Capricious, some may say. So for the actual organised play, there's 5 sets of cards. So if you imagine each table, each 2 players has a set of cards between them. You get a large mission card that tells you the name of the mission and what's happening. So at the beginning of the game, you start with the Immortal Q Deck. Again, 5 of these decks that are split between tables, not between individual players. At the start of each action phase, you will assign, before you assign bonus actions, you draw an Immortal Q card and apply its effects, and then at the end of the game, these things happen. The Immortal Q cards are numbered. So you can see here, these cards are only for games 1 and 3. So for that first mission, you will see all 3 of these because you've obviously got 3 turns in a game. We have all askew. Get it? Nice. For this round, the terminals all change their allocation. So if you've been spending a turn or 3 at a terminal, desperately trying to get a big mission score, and all of a sudden your command becomes a science terminal, then that can really interrupt your gameplay. There's also Culan. At the start of the round, you may either recover a damage or remove a condition token from each character. Then each player gains 2 bonus actions. So, interesting, speeding the game up. Then we have a mischief. Each player, in the order of activation, may place any hostile character in any empty space. Then in the same order, players may put a stun token on a different character. And then finally, each player discards a random mission card. So you can see Q is going to cause absolute bedlam on the tabletop. He'll speed things up. Damage will be removed. Bonus action tokens will be thrown around. However, all of a sudden, those important missions that you're about to score just go away. So that's for game 1. For game 2, Culan's takes effect. And these are the little blue and red tokens. So you've enough for 3 per person on both sides, and then there's 2 spare, simply because of the way the dashboards are printed. They only need 15 of each. So, little blue or little red musket man running around the place. Before signing your action tokens, you place all 3 of your Culan tokens that are not in the mission area. So, in your first turn, you'll put all 3 down. If any get killed in the start of the subsequent turn, they'll come back in again. So they're always going to be there for all 3 turns of the game. All they can do is attack, move and attack with a musket. So you gain points, 5 bonus points each time a musket attack causes 1 or more damage. Don't have to take things out of action, just bonus damage. Obviously that's going to be constant. And if you're attempting to kill these things, they're going to come back the next turn. So you're just going to have to worry about where they are and what they're doing. Their point scoring is probably less impactful than the fact that they can cause area denial. I mean, 3 of them together can carve off areas that your opponent may want to be in. If we take a look at the cards for games 2 and 3, there are 5 of these. So in game 2, you'll also have to deal with things like this, Cupid, where any character that has a backup that is in line of sight of Q rolls 2 less die, and for all attacks and skill tests, instead of 1 additional. Or roll a die on a 4 or more, you can place Q in any empty space, and on a 1, the opponent places Q in any empty space. So this is the first time you'll see Q on table, just 1 bouncing around into different areas, disrupting people. Q's piece. All players roll a die, and the higher scoring player places Q in any empty space. Any character in line of sight rolls 1 less attack die and rolls 1 additional die for skill tests. Or an action, you can attempt to move him again. Hiding Q. Any character, skill test and attacks as normal. Shuffling around. Here we have True Q. Any character that has a backup that is in line of sight of Q rolls 2 additional dice for all attacks and skill tests instead of 1. Again, shift him and Q's whim. Each time a player scores a mission, they must shuffle all their mission cards back into your hand, or back into the deck rather, and draw the same number. If you are going to score multiple missions at the same time, pick 1 and the other ones go back in. So that's really disruptive, especially again if you've been spending multiple turns getting things geared up for a big scoring mission, and then he does that to you. So 5 cards this time for game 2, of which you'll see 3 of them. So aggravating, to say the least. Then we have the 3rd game, Deja Q. And at the beginning of the game, you shuffle all 8 cards from the Immortal deck together. Again, you're only going to see 3 of them come out, but the possibilities of mischief is massive. Then take one of the Q tokens and pop it at a terminal of your choice. Anybody who's using that terminal gets the following special. So 20 bonus points if you pass a skill test there. And if, regardless of whether you pass or fail, you roll a d6, and then there's a list of things that can happen to you. So first off, the character becomes a dog. Drop the dog token onto the character sheet or dashboard. They lose all their specializations and keywords and get 2 stun tokens on them. So that character's pretty much done for. On a 2, gain an android keyword. You get turned into a robot. On a 3, if the character is already an android, get 5 bonus points. Or if the character is an android already, 4 reasons. Take 2 damage, harsh. 5 is my favourite. Place all the characters in this space at a command terminal in the crew quarters, and if there are any characters in the crew quarters space, then they swap places. On a 6, draw a mission card from your mission deck and immediately score it. And then your opponent takes that Q token and puts it on any other terminal space on the board that's empty. So that starts causing all sorts of mayhem and mischief. Then we get the final game. So up until now, Q has been playing merry havoc with people. With Excuse Me, you add Q to your mission away team as an additional specialist. So you have your full away team, and then you have Q as well. There are 2 cards in the Immortal Q Deck that get removed, and then all the rest are shuffled and left by the mission deck. At the start of the first round, each player draws or plays their wanted and Q's redemption Q cards, and then when playing at the start of each action for Q or bonus action, you will reveal the top Q card and immediately bring it into effect. And then that is where this delightful chap comes in. So Q himself has every specialization. He is a specialist. Doesn't matter what you're doing, they're all there. And this just tells you at the start of the game, shuffle your Q deck and then bring them in. He only has 1 attack, 2 in defense, 3 in skill, and a 2/4 move, fairly decent. Flip it over, you'll get that he's unaffiliated. So when you're not playing through this campaign for the organised play, you may take Q as a mission specialist with any away team. And that's how you play with him outside of the actual event itself. And if we take a look at the Immortal Q Deck, so these are the 2 that start the game. So as you can see, with Q's redemption, place a stun token on this card when your character scores a mission with backup from Q. And when you get 3 or more stun tokens, remove Q from the game. Bonus, gain 1 bonus action token at the start of each of your round while it's in the scoring area. So extra actions, more mayhem ensues. And then for wanted, take an opposed diplomacy skill test with your Q. And remember, he has a skill of 3 and the specialization diplomacy against any hostile character of your opponent's choice. If you roll 2 or more successes, shuffle this card back into the Q deck. As an interrupt, score this card when your character neutralizes the owner's Q. So those start in play. And then the rest of the cards are an eclectic mix. He has 1 bit of equipment, his trumpet, which gives him +1 attack dice. It can only be played on Q, and it is a tool of annoyance. I can't see why a mariachi band on a starship would be annoying, but there you go. When Q scores a mission, immediately draw and play a Immortal Q card and shuffle this card back into the deck. So all he can do is stun, but it will increase that attack slightly. Then the rest are event cards. So 3 trait events and 4 regular, we have Q gets the point. So each Q character takes 1 damage, or you can interrupt. We have rescue. Each player may search their mission or support deck for a card. And then each player with Q in the playing area may search for a second card. Q's gift. Each player gains a bonus action token, and each player with a Q gains a second bonus action token. Insufferable Q. Each player with a character other than Q within line of sight of your Q must place a stun token on one of those characters. Then gain a bonus action token. You may only use this action on your Q. Captain Q. Play this trait event on your Q. Shuffle any other Q traits back into the deck. Roll an additional die for command or diplomacy skill tests taken by this Q. Look at the top 2 cards. Place 1 on the top, 1 on the bottom of your deck. So you can shuffle through that way. Helpful Q. So additional die for engineering or science. And then draw a support card when you pass a skill check with backup from Q. And similar when receiving backup, Q receives an additional die when he receives backup. Hostile characters roll 1 less die to a minimum of 1 when they take a skill test within line of sight. So those cards form a separate deck that sits beside your mission and support decks, and these just churn through as you play. That's for the 4th game, where you're going to have 2 Qs on the board and running around the place. At the end of your organised play, everybody gets this set of 10 cards to take, a Q model and a dashboard for them to play in other games, in which case he could be unusual. If you're trying to plan a strategy and your opponent has brought Q and you have not, there's a lot of weirdness going on. That's not necessarily always going to be for the benefit of a player taking part, but adds a certain degree of comedy into the away missions, which I appreciate wholeheartedly. So yeah, there you have it. The Immortal Q rendered mortal for away missions. So there we have it. Box set will cover 10 people. Obviously, if you have a larger club or gaming group, you may need to pick up multiple boxes. But I still like to think of it as 5 pairs is a good way to divide it because of the linked missions. So if you think in pairs, and then you can work out whether you need 1, 2, 3, whatever it is, boxes. I really like how it changes how the game plays as well, and shows the capricious, malicious, whimsical nature of Q. Just constantly changing things, interrupting your own plans, sometimes helping your plans. You just don't know what you're going to get with him, and neither does your opponent. And it will just make even the sort of the base factions from the box set play entirely differently. Don't know what you'd be doing with the Borg, but you know, who can say? The Borg are an unusual creation, and the Q don't like them. Don't bother the Borg. We learned that one from Q. So let me know what you think below of the Q Continuum and this organised play kit from Gale Force9, and what you think they may do in future. Until next time, bye-bye.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.